Living in our usual circle, we sometimes do not realize what surrounds us outside our usual perimeter. We often strive for stability, the understandable and the obvious, afraid to go beyond the comfort zone that we consider ideal for ourselves. But true understanding, the progress of the mind and intellect begins only after knowing the unknown, when we are not afraid to take a step forward. Hello everyone, my name is Strange, and I believe that people should know the truth. The following unique information was obtained after hacking into a huge array of data hidden by US Special Services. Our analysts literally fell into a stupor when they received the order to interpret the received data. This may seem like a fantastic story, an invention, but I repeat, everything said below is true. A brief explanation. The following information, stolen by our hackers, was previously obtained by the US Special Services through telepathic contact of a quantum computer enhanced by biotechnologies. This computer has the ability to randomly enter into telepathic contact upon request from the outside. The task for the quantum computer was apparently as follows: to provide a stable mental kinetic connection with any being of the human order that is currently located outside the globe, namely with an abducted human being residing on an alien base and ship. The analyst held printed forms in his hands. There was a lot of work ahead. He and his department had to reformat a lot of data, dialogues, information obtained during the contact of the biocomputer with an unknown person, who apparently was captured by aliens. In fact, more than 360 hours of transcribed audio recordings have been received. The beginning was made. Interpretation number 1. Dialogue.
Telepathic contact is currently being provided with you. Your location, condition, can you keep in touch?
Who's here? I can't see anything. Get out of my head. No need.
Don't resist. Stop resisting. Let your thoughts flow freely.
No, please, I'm scared. Let me out. I don't want to.
Next, a stimulation protocol will be conducted. Reading thought forms.
The dialogue was interrupted by a cry of pain from the contact person. My head exploded with a million pieces of pain. I heard hissing, barely perceptible words right in my brain which tried to make me think calmly, observe and transmit visual data. As I understand it, all that I see at the moment, I couldn't resist it. The voice was getting louder. It filled my mind, forced me to obey. Suddenly the voice stopped. It was like a blow to the brain. Silence. Where am I? I understand nothing. I only remember a flash of light at the very moment when I was returning from work in my car. At some point I thought I was in an accident. The body was caught up in sparkling flashes of light, the feeling of a whirlpool that takes you not down but up and as if to the side. I was suffocating and falling apart. Now I can even say that I remember myself hovering over the globe in space. This is an incredible euphoria and fear, a grandiose feeling of freedom and horror that swept through my mind in a few moments. I woke up. The darkness was dispelled by a bluish light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. I'm lying down? No. I'm standing, but I can't move. I'm being held down by some kind of force fields. I don't feel handcuffs, restraints, or any other kind of fixation. I can move my wrist slightly, but as soon as I lift my palm off the surface, it returns to its original position by some force. There is chills and lack of sensitivity in the body. I clenched my fist with an effort and dug my nails into the flesh of my palm. There was no pain. There were no feelings at all. There were several creatures standing in front of me. Their bodies were more people than someone, but the bodies were hidden by a protective shell covering the entire surface. I looked at one of the creatures. Oh my lord, they were giants, no less than 3, maybe 4 meters in height. The faces were hidden under the hemispheres. These were people who were not familiar to my eyes and understanding, and I was scared. They just looked at me. One of the creatures ran his hand over his shoulder. No. Not words, but images crept into my head. A whole series of images associated with these creatures. I saw myself naked and lifted up in the space of a metal camera. Maybe it wasn't metal, but white plastic. Cables with sensors at the ends were pulled out of the walls towards me under the influence of unknown forces. They touched me, pressed against me, entangled me. I didn't remember it, but it happened to me. Suddenly, a voice was heard distorting the words in my native language.
We take parts of your torso.
I didn't understand and asked again.
My torso?
The voice has improved.
Bodies, glands. You are not in danger of anything dangerous. Soon you will be in the time of your life.
I couldn't move. When I said the words with my mouth, they were misunderstood.
Don't talk. Think. We do it so that you have no fear.
I really wasn't afraid. I communicated with these creatures on equal terms. And most importantly, I felt safe. But suddenly the unexpected happened. There was a knock, a crack. I was shaken along with the panel by the impact. The creatures that stood in front of me turned their backs to me as if on command. They obeyed a certain discipline and acted as if they were all at the same time. One of them in black protective clothing ran up to the wall. A light came on in front of him, into which he plunged his hands. The other two also ran up to the opposite walls and did the same. The fourth one held out his hand in front of me. His palm was in front of me. The palm is at least half a meter in size. At that moment I thought I was finished, but the voice rang in my head again. At first, their voices did not express any emotions. They confidently entered the mind, transmitted information, but now it seemed to me that the voice was worried.
You're going to sleep.
I immediately fell into a dream, just a black void in which I was not aware of myself and did not dream. I do not know how many hours later I woke up. The dream seemed like a moment to me. I was not fixed to the panel where I woke up. I was lying on the floor. It was very cold. Bluish light still filled the room, but it was empty. It was difficult for me to get up. I couldn't feel my body. It feels like my legs and arms have been laid out. In principle, it could have been chills from the cold, or the consequences of the impact that was exerted on me. Slowly, I rolled over on my stomach, pulled up my arms, and got on all fours. But I could not stand up steadily. I fell back on my stomach and forward, hitting my face. The pain echoed inside with a slight dull echo. I pulled my hand up to my face blood, a little. I must have split my lip. Definitely not the nose. There is too little blood. It was only when I touched my lip that I realized I could barely hear anything. There was no sound at all. None. I touched my ears and there was no blood. Most likely my hearing will recover. I was hoping for it. The room seemed solid, without doors or any other kind of exits. I looked around. The feeling of my own body was slowly returning. There were flashes in his eyes, at first light, like sparks, and then a few dark ones. At that moment, I still did not realize the full extent of what had happened. In fact, I was on an alien ship, who, for some reason of their own, brought me here. They promised me a return, but something happened that was freelance, creepy, dangerous for me too.
Hey, is anyone here?
I didn't recognize my voice. It sounded muffled and quiet, as if plugs had been inserted into my ears. I just screamed.
Hey!
The voice was muffled.
It's like my ears are stuck.
I put my hand over my nose and exhaled. Once again and again, making a purge. My hearing seemed to get a little better, but there was silence and emptiness all around. The bluish light began to change to red. Light at first, but richer and richer. It was in this light that I saw that the wall, a dozen meters in front of me, was fragmented and protruded in a rectangular area just as tall as the creatures I saw. I walked towards the wall on unruly legs. At the same time, I was completely naked. I did not feel it, but now I felt it with the entire surface of my skin. Sensitivity was returning to me. It was getting scary and cold.
Hey, is there anyone here?
Silence. I touched the protruding fragment of the wall with my palms. Under my palms, flashes began to appear in the wall, encased in transparent material. It's like I'm pushing on a liquid crystal display. I pressed harder, but the fragment of the wall did not move away, remained motionless. It seemed to me that this was the entrance to the room. Suddenly, the wall began to lose its hue. It became transparent. I could see through it. At first, I recoiled, but then I touched the wall with my hand. The hand went through it. I took it out and examined it. My hand felt warmer. I put it back in the transparent material and then I stepped in myself. So I found myself in the next room with huge vaults. A thought flashed through my head. This is the hall. Interpretation of mental images. Analytical department.
In the next room, the contactee found a closed chamber with sliding doors. The body of a giant humanoid creature lay between the doors. The body prevented the flaps from closing. The closed chamber was a kind of container into which all the giant humanoid creatures ran. but the body of one of them did not allow the camera to close. In the body pinned down by the flap of the creature, a huge wound is visible in the chest area, pink blood. The creature was attacked from outside, after which it fell into the chamber, preventing closure. There was probably a completely internal attack on their ship. Trying to escape, the creatures ran into the chamber but could not close it. As a result, all the creatures were put to death. The bodies were stacked side by side. There were no attempts to fight for life, no attempts to run out, just dead bodies. The protective clothing is intact, and so are the spheres on their heads. The wound in the chest was observed only in the creature between the flaps. I was scared and uneasy, but I went inside the cell, stepping over a huge 4-meter body. I took a couple of steps right over the body. It was solid, rigor mortis, naked. I felt insecure and defenseless. I needed at least some clothes. The first thing that came to mind was to remove the head sphere from one of the creatures.
Interpretation of mental images, analytical department.
It was quite an ordinary human face with large features, huge open dead eyes. The color was greenish blue, the skin was pale, deadening, but she was white when she was alive. A sharp, strongly narrowed nose and mouth. The contactee tried to open the creature's mouth by thrusting the fingers of both hands into it, but could not. The only thing that opened my eyes was a row of upper teeth, white. One of the teeth had a purple tinge, probably a prosthesis. Inside the sphere there were various devices, the purpose of which is unknown.
A voice suddenly rang in my head, exactly the same as that of the creature addressing me earlier.
You are one living being. The others are not.
I screamed.
Who's here? Help!
The voice sounded in my head.
Stay where you are. Wait.
Help!
Stay in place. Wait.
In parallel, another voice rang out.
Barely perceptible. Rustling.
The voice of telepathic contact.
Wait, we need information about the alien ship.
With you, strange again. And if you think that this is not proof of the existence of aliens, then you are right. There is much more evidence, and on our channel we will reveal all the secrets and evidence of their presence. Subscribe to the channel and send me your stories related to aliens by email. You will find contacts in the About the Channel section. Together, we will force the authorities of all countries to disclose all the information they have. And I think you can guess that the continuation of this story will appear on our channel soon. After all, people should know the truth.